Hello, dear ones. And this is Bevin from Perceptive Souls. And I felt really strongly called. I haven't been on my channel for a while, but I felt really strongly called to record a intuitive reading this morning called Empaths. Do not allow yourself to fall into the pit of despair. And the reason this came up is because I saw so many people in the sensitive community and like myself, who felt really overwhelmed the last months, but particularly over the last few days with some really intense collective energy, a lot of fear, a lot of anger about the current system, looking out into the world and seeing how people are showing up and being really disillusioned and disappointed in that. And it felt really important for me to bring in this high vibrational positive message. So I literally just got out of bed and all these things came in. It's like, okay, let's get on and let's talk about it. Because I know that most of us have been, sheltered in place for the most part until, for 6 months or more, and some people even longer than that. A lot of time behind screens, when we actually can't physically be in the energy of another person. We can't actually sense into what's happening in their world. But what we're learning is this electronic medium actually allows us to transmit that energy just as powerfully as it does being in person. And yet there is something different about being able to be with your friends and your family and your loved ones in person. I haven't been able to do that as well. My grandmother lives in another state in the United States, and I haven't been able to see her for a year and a half now, and it's very challenging, because she's not allowed to have visitors at her age, and so we're all struggling with the disparities we see in the world, whether that's the income inequality, whether that's seeing horrific scenes from Yemen and Beirut, where people are living in tent cities and they don't have clean water, and it's literally a humanitarian crisis. When we read about environmental things, like in the United States, over in California, we had an immense season for forest fires this year, and maybe more so than usual, and watching trees that are hundreds of years old burn, and people losing their homes. And so we get all this stuff, right? And there's the political systems in many parts of the world and the country that are in flux, and there's just all of this old energy from the Piscean era that's just holding on, right? It's holding on, it's grasping. It's like, when you've made a transition or something in your life into something new, how sometimes you have that deep longing to hold on to the old, even though it doesn't serve you anymore. Well, we're going through that intensely as a collective. And so it can be very easy for those of us who are energetically sensitive to lose ourselves, to feel like we're just going to be awash in this huge wave of energy and emotions that comes over us. And yet what we really need to do is we need to plant our feet in the beach, in the sand, and stand and allow it to wash and then go by, right? Allow it to wash over and go by, because the world needs us at this time. The world needs us to be as calm and centered and present and optimistic about our future as we can. And the most important thing is that you are not responsible for fixing all of it. And this is where I think the overwhelm comes in, is that we look at all this and we think, oh my God, like there's nothing I can do. And so I'm just going to be paralyzed. I'm just going to stop trying. And the thing is we can't stop trying. That's why we came here. So the first card deck that I'm going to pull from is the Seven Oracles. It's a beautiful deck, and we just want to get some information, some optimistic, some positive, some uplifting information for you so that we can move forward together. And I want you to know that you're not alone. I mean, it's one of the reasons that I created the 1 Million Empaths community, so that lightworkers and mystics and spiritual seekers could have a place to gather and to know and to be uplifted, because we need that. We need communities wherever you seek that, whether you do that online, whether you have a small group of friends. It's so important for you to have those people to have those crucial conversations with. But we can't give up, right? We can't give up. We can't allow ourselves to move into the pit of despair because we're at a really important threshold, for our world. And the first card that comes up here is the power of purpose, right? Here's the power of purpose. So, we see these like concentric rings, right? We see these concentric rings, and the outside ring kind of feels like the old, like there's even a brick wall behind it. It even feels like the old sort of industrial mentality of work, of life, of the economic system. And you see there's these branches sort of, or kind of energy like coming in that's starting to grow, some new growth. And as the rings go in further, they get clearer, more brilliant, right? So this is what we're moving towards, but it takes time. So we go through these stages, like here's where we were, and then we go into this stage, which is really muddy. You can see it's very chaotic. And then we go into the next stage, which has a little bit of that chaos. And then as we get closer and closer to the bullseye, things get clearer. And so we are moving forward, even if it looks like we're not, we're moving forward. But all of this stuff has to be cleansed, purified. You see some of it just like starting to release out into the universe. The universe, the earth, has the ability to transmute energy. We're not here to actually do that work. I know that we can. You're here to transmute your own energy. That's the most important piece, but not everybody else's. You're not meant to fix the world. You're not meant to fix all the problems or anyone else's problems. They need to go through this process. It's like this is very structured, right? We have this very defined industrial, technological structure. And then in the next ring, it's just breaking all down. It's like, it's just chaos, right? And it feels like chaos. But this is where we're actually moving into this beautiful place here. So that's the first one, is the power of purpose. It's getting really clear about why you are here. What is your unique role to play? And you just need to do your part, not everybody's part. I'm doing mine. I'm here today doing this reading, getting on. I teach, I coach. As a matter of fact, I help people with purpose. It's so important to find that one thing that really lights you up, that really gets you going. And that's where you're meant to serve. That's where you're meant to serve. So let's see what's next. So what comes out next is awakening genius, right? Awakening genius. This is a lot of third eye activation. You can see here. And you really see like there's a lot of spiritual guides, entities around this person. There's beautiful elder wisdom. This is what's inside of each one of us, this elder wisdom, but it's coming into this understanding that we each have this genius. Even people that you look out and you think, oh, wow, they're just completely unconscious. They're completely misguided, in the world. They have this genius as well. It's not just you. It's not just me. This is our birthright. This is our spiritual birthright. To have this. And so you see there's this heart activation here, this flower that's opening up at the heart, and then all of this activation at the third eye and the crown. And this is what we're meant to express, right? We're meant to express this genius. It's a process of continuing to ask, why am I here? What am I meant to do? How can I contribute? And really getting into that space of focusing your time and energy on that rather than on all the things that are going wrong. If we get into that place, and we can very easily, where we're just continuously focusing on, oh my gosh, the world is like this, and the politicians are like this, and all the things, the conspiracy theories and all the stuff. And it doesn't mean that we want to bury our head in the sand. It doesn't mean that we don't want to pay attention or to speak up when there's injustices. We absolutely do. but we can actually lose ourselves in that momentum of all that fear and all that pain and all that anger of the de-evolution, if you will, the deconstruction of our existing society. And we want to hold that vision for what's coming next. And I love that this card came out, which is the call of the muse. Let me see if I can get it in here. Right? This is the call of the muse. This is that inspiration, you know, that divine inspiration. However you receive that. For me, I often receive it when I first wake up in the morning. I will just open my eyes and some things will come in. And this morning was no different. It was very intense. That it was important for me to get on and to do this work and to allow this to flow through me and to get it out to as many empaths as possible. Whatever that looks like for you, maybe it's dance, maybe it's writing, maybe it's painting. Open up this creative aspect of yourself. You see a lot of activation here in her sacral chakra, which is that creative flow. We need to open that, right? We get into this fear-based place, or we get into all the things in the world are wrong. Like sometimes we get way too far into the solar plexus, and solar plexus is great. We need to take action, but we need to do it from this inspired place, this really connected, inspired place, this creative place, this place of partnership where we realize, and you can see that she's activating every chakra point all the way up. She's lifting, you know, and receiving, and then also, you know, bringing that back down into the earthly plane. Here's all of the stars, all of the desires, all of the holding of the potential, right? Being a holder of potential, and just lifting and elevating herself. And this is what we need to do right now. We need to not allow ourselves to spiral down into those difficult emotions as much as possible. I know it'll happen some days, and we're not trying to be perfect, but we need to tap into the power of purpose. We need to realize our awakening genius, and we need to call on our muse to say, okay, help to show me, what is it that I need to know right now? What is it that I need to be doing right now? What's the one thing, what's the one vibration I can put out into the universe that helps to combine with all the other beautiful vibrations to make this shift and change? Recently, I posted this meme on my Facebook business page, and it said, I came here not to play the game, but to change it. So we come from this mentality that some people will call it being in the world, but not of the world, right? And it's really important right now that we take this stance. So I'm going to pull a card from the Crazy Sexy Love deck. I love this deck. It's a new one. We're getting to know each other. And this is a great message for you, just a final message here about what you need to know. Okay, love this card. So something bigger is on the way. So here's where we are. You know, we have this sort of like muddy path, right? This muddy hillside, you know, that's kind of what the world looks like. But as we look out, there are many different vistas. There are many different little hills and mountains to cross. And, you know, the sun is rising. The sun is rising. And there's blooming, and there's hope. And you can see she's, you know, spread out, opening that heart chakra, opening those chakra systems to recognize that there is something bigger on the way. And we may not be able to see it in our humanness, but it doesn't mean that it's not coming. So I'll read what it says. It says, allow your vision to expand and be open to the form it takes. You may discover that you were dreaming too small, or what seemed like an obstacle is actually pointing you in a better direction. The universe always has your back. And I think this is just so important, my friends, as we navigate a really challenging time, for us to hold compassion for ourselves, compassion for others, to recognize that nobody's been here before. This is a brand new threshold for our entire world. Be kind, do your self-care, disconnect from media if you need to. Last week, I spent an entire week in the forest, not on social media, not engaging, and I realized the world went on without me. I didn't need to be that deeply engaged. And it was really a wake-up call for me as far as how much I want to engage in these negative news cycles and all the stuff that's going on, and how much I really, really want to be a positive presence and holding the future, holding that vision for the future in whatever way that is for you. For me, that's really about conscious business. For me, that's about leadership, sensitive leadership, and adapting, the existing paradigm of leadership into something that's more uplifting and affirming and egalitarian. But you may have a completely different focus, and that's why we need all of these beautiful, sensitive souls. That's why we came here. We came here to be the path, the way showers, right? Like, we are forging this path. There is no path here. We have to create it. We have to create it, and each of us is going to create our own, but we're all going to the same destination. So I hope this was helpful for you. I send love and light to you and your families and your loved ones at this time. I know we're navigating really uncertain times, but you are strong, you are resilient, and you get to make choices about where you put your time and energy. And I suggest putting that into something that it's affirming and uplifting and positive and helps to move our world forward in one small way. So thank you so much. I look forward to connecting with you again. And peace be with you, my friends. Namaste.